Honorable Ministers of the Government of Odisha, Captains of the Industry, ladies and gentlemen, let me at the very outset thank the Honorable Chief Minister Shri Naveen Patnaik for his very gracious invitation to me, inviting me to identify and associate with the Make in Odisha conclave that is being organized in Bhubaneswar today. I only wish to assure him and the people of Odisha that the Government of India would walk literally hand in hand with the state government in this very ambitious object which the Honorable Chief Minister has laid down for the state. For India's growth progress, Odisha really is a test case. And how fast the transformation of Odisha takes place is really the touchstone of how India is growing. Just 2 decades ago, a state with probably one of the largest percentage terms of tribal population, in terms of poverty level, probably one of the largest in the country, where more than half the people of the state lived below the poverty line a little less than 2 decades ago. It's indeed a challenge for India, the Government of India and also the Government of the state of Odisha, in a short period of time to transform that state into a lasting ambition of making him a manufacturing powerhouse. The state had its own challenges, but the state also had its own assets. As all have pointed out, it's a mineral-rich state. It has the second additional advantage of having a very vast coastline. It has the potential to be the home to the core sector industries of India. It has and a great potential for improvement in agriculture. In recent decades, it's had political stability. And I think it can't be understated that it probably has an excellent human resource. A human resource which eventually went outside the state also and excelled in various areas of life, various professions. Those emanating from the state made an impressive mark everywhere. It's a combination of these assets and these challenges that Odisha really had to face. And therefore, the challenge for the future now is to consolidate on these gains. And one of the obvious gains, as pointed out, is that the percentage share of manufacturing in Odisha's GDP is very high. It's higher than the rest of the country. And therefore, if its base continues to expand, its potential to add to the number of jobs within the state and its potential to contribute higher and higher to the country's GDP would be much more. Additionally, Odisha also having the advantage of a vast coastline, and our experience globally, particularly in relation to most Asian economies which did well, was of one which targeted the global markets. whether it was Japan, whether it was China, whether it was South Korea or Taiwan, they all used their core potential and then eventually targeted the global markets. And that's how they became larger and larger economies. And with a vast coastline, Odisha has that potential. It's conventionally been seen that the western and the northern states of India, the southern states of India were growing faster than the eastern states. And therefore, the potential to improve upon our national GDP and our national growth rate was really to concentrate on areas which had traditionally grown slowly. And the eastern states of India was one such particular area. And I think with the concentration and a determination to make Odisha a manufacturing hub, to expand its services sector, to add to its agricultural sector, and that's why the concentration that we saw today on the food processing industry, the presentations which came from certain business groups, I think gives a very important ray of hope as far as the future is concerned. Odisha now has the potential of improving upon its own revenues. The share of the states as far as from the central devolution also has gone up after the 14th Finance Commission. The mineral-rich states which were traditionally not getting the benefits of being mineral-rich, after recent legislative changes and a change in policy, have now been bestowed with that benefit also. And with all these potentials, we've already seen in the last 2 decades the number of people below poverty line in Odisha coming down radically. And while there would be a great aspirational challenge of expanding manufacturing, services and agriculture, there also would be a socio-economic object immediately to get to a much lower level the number of people below poverty line, which almost in the last 2 decades has been reduced by half. And therefore, if Odisha continues to grow at a pace faster than the national pace, its potential over the next 1.5 decade to reduce that figure significantly would also be there. In this regard, I would also like to mention the kind of changes which are taking place in India compared to the rest of the world. In the last 2 to 3 years, when commodity and mineral prices had fallen in the world, obviously a state like Odisha, which was mineral rich, also had an adverse impact. But in recent months, we've seen that trend being reversed. And I think that augurs well for a state like Odisha and for the companies which operate in the state of Odisha itself. The world over the last 3 to 4 years has been facing with extremely serious economic challenges. And one of the greatest concerns has been that not many are able to predict how long this situation would last. Amidst this adversity of slower growth, uncertainties, unconventional policies in certain countries, India, of course, has remained one of the few islands of growth world over. Last 2 years, we've been the fastest growing major economy in the world, and I have no doubt that we'll continue to do so this year also. But the challenge for India is, how do we look ahead as far as the country is concerned? And therefore, some changes which are now taking place may look difficult challenges in the immediate context, but their potential for the future to bring about significant changes in the country is extremely important. And I do believe that two initiatives, and I must thank profusely the Honorable Chief Minister and his colleagues for being very supportive in both those initiatives. The recent currency changes, as also the proposed goods and services tax, would eventually benefit the whole country and certainly a state like Odisha. If you look at the long-term impact beyond 1 or 2 quarters, once these two decisions are effectively implemented, notwithstanding the painful process of their implementation itself, what would really be the impact of these decisions? As far as the goods and services tax is concerned, the whole country would be one big market. There would be a seamless flow of goods and services across the country. This itself would now entail a system where leakages would be blocked, a far more efficient tax system of indirect taxation would come into existence. And obviously, over a period of time, it not only helps in the growth process, but it also helps a consuming state like Odisha. Tax evasion would increasingly become extremely difficult because some limb of the transaction, from its very inception till the sale, the whole process of manufacture, the whole journey of a particular product would be captured somewhere on the IT backbone which is being developed for this purpose. Coupled with this, if more and more transactions and payments get digitized, lend at more reasonable rates, support various social projects, infrastructure, industry, trade would be far higher than what it conventionally has been. The taxation basis itself would increase, and a cumulative effect of both those factors, the GST as also the currency move after the remonetization process is completed itself, would give state after state, and of course the country as a whole, a much bigger economic base, a much better and a bigger taxation base itself. And that's impact on the object of every state, and a state like Odisha, in order to reduce poverty levels, in order to have larger resources in its command, in order to service the poor and the weaker sections of the population, in order to create a better infrastructure, in order to improve upon health and educational spending, in the long run would be much higher. I'm sure that the initiative which the Honorable Chief Minister has taken in getting here all the past and the potential investors of the state, inviting them to do business, and most of them have been extremely complimentary about the environment which has been presented to them and which holds a great potential as far as the future is concerned. Once integrated with these national changes which are taking place, I am sure that what you project as your state's GDP today, next time you have a convention of this kind, we probably would be looking at bigger and better figures than this also. I am sure in this endeavor, together the government of Odisha and the government of India would be able to serve the people of the state much better. Once again, Honorable Chief Minister, I thank you very much for having invited me to associate with this convention.
Thank you, Honorable FM, for your succinct and notable address and reaffirming your confidence in the state. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to now invite Mr. Chandrajit Banerjee, Director General of CI, and request him to kindly propose a vote of thanks.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's been an outstanding start to the biggest ever investment conclave that one has been seeing in Bhubaneswar in Odisha, and one must compliment the great leadership in terms of visioning that this conclave be dovetailed with the national mission of Make in India, when we see Make in Odisha really happen here, and all of us would really want to thank the Honorable Chief Minister for really leading up to this wonderful event, which has some of the best responses that one has seen for such a big event to happen in the country, for the state for the first time. The type of the qualitative response that one has seen from the industry in India is indeed very, very laudable. And while we were working towards this event, I must say the type of responses that we were getting from people who are already investing in India, and those who were already investing in Odisha, and those who were evincing interest to invest in India was indeed very noteworthy. And today we have some of the best captains who are here from the industry who spoke about what's happening in Odisha and about their plans. Many who couldn't come who spoke on the video, the type of some of the international interests that we have seen for the first